Like Michael's here,
Hey
and
man,
there he is. Hey, Michael, how you doing, man?
living the dream.
Are you? Like you got like that fancy background. What's that? Like
Well,
all about
I
like
didn't want
JoMart.
it was either you watching my shipping department or me putting up one of my things we used to use at pop-ups when pop-ups really took place before life changed.
Yeah, life changed, but yet somehow it's creepily the same as you put it.
It is. It is. I mean, I can't even. I don't have enough. We don't have enough time to discuss what the last year and a half has been like, except to say that the chocolate industry is the most amazing industry of all. I mean, to have your customers rallying around you during a pandemic to make sure you keep doing what you do, that's really something. And whoever, I don't know about, I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of people in the industry more than me, but whoever I've spoken to really has the same reports. They transitioned in a half a heartbeat from their walk-in business to online business, and our customers kept us going.
Yeah, I guess it's good to be in a business that people like us.
Well, if you just spend your whole time being an asshole, it's not going to work too well. But our business, think about what we do for a living.
Well, that's what I meant. I meant more like I don't say they like us. I mean like they don't like you personally. They like what you
Uh,
do.
I, I think they tolerate me. I'm an acquired taste, so I'm not for everyone. But those who know me kind of like me, ish.
I like
For the
you.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Well, we know each other long enough.
But you're right. But I just meant more that I mean I think there's something about we're in this business where we make people happy, we create memories. Like that's what I meant. And I think that we're important from that standpoint because we're that little something extra, that little something special,
Well,
you know?
when everything, right, I agree with you. When everything started, people were looking for a sense of normalcy. So life became very not normal. You really couldn't do much except eat and drink, and they turned to comfort. What was fascinating to see. I mean, thankfully, I'm doing this long enough that I've been through my share of recessions and financial downturns, and generally in the past when those things happened, so people would kind of stay away from luxe items and kind of go to comfort, like a caramel, right? Caramel is comfort, but a ganache kind of signifies luxury. But with this, it was exactly the opposite. Because people were trapped and they really didn't know what tomorrow looked like, they were indulging themselves. Coincidentally, right before, about 2 weeks before lockdown, we did an event out in Garden City. There were 10,000 people there. And we had been playing around with one incarnation of bonbons or another here for, I don't know, 20 years already. And we started getting involved with the hand painting and some of the boozy flavors. And we introduced it on March 1st, 2020, at this event. And it was the best item at the event that we did that day. And lockdown starts, and it's like, all right, what do we do now? And that became crazy popular. Didn't see that coming.
So, hey, you just said you've been working on something for 20 years. So we'll come back to kind of like what's going on and what's in store for the future for JoMart. But like your bio, the end of your signature on your line on your email is son of a candy maker.
Yep, true.
So so you want to tell me a little bit about that story, or you want me to
Well,
like
my my
draw it out
my
some more?
yeah, I'll give you some more of it. I'll give the whole pitch. So my grandfather was a candy maker, big factory, tons and tons of turnout in Brooklyn also. Never made much money, but he did what he had to do. My father, as a kid, worked there, as did his first cousin, Joey. And then World War II came around, and I guess my father would have done anything to get out of the house, so he joined up. And after the war ended, as he told the story, the war ended like 6 weeks too soon for him to get his college degree. So he had to come back and earn a living. And him and his cousin, who both had some experience, they decided to open up what in their minds was going to be a higher end um, chocolate shop compared to what my father's father did. And they opened up, they had a small factory they opened up in Brooklyn, and then they had a small retail about a mile away. And where they opened up their retail, there were 5 other candy makers, chocolate makers within a 2-block stretch. And somehow they all were surviving. And life kind of went on. And I grew up. My introduction to the business for real was when my father moved the factory and store together to our current location. And you're a kid, so you go help your father out. I didn't know that not everyone does this for a living. What did I know? And I used to help because that's what you have to do in a family business. You help.
Right.
And like I told you, my first thing I was taught to do was gift wrap boxes, which my wife still says I do a lousy job doing.
Well, you've only been doing it for like 50 years, so you got time.
Yeah,
you got time to figure it out.
Right. And then I was allowed to use chocolate, and I got to put eyes on bunnies, and that was a whole thing, and that was cool. And that was really how I spent the better part of the next 15 years of my life, growing up, going to school, working part-time for my father, doing what I did. Did I think I'd be doing this my whole life? No way. And then when I got my job teaching, a couple of weeks after I was doing it well, I thought, that's when the budget cuts came and I was laid off. So I was married already, and I came back to work. And as I told you, my father gave me his sales pitch to stay with him. He was like, you'll never make much money. You'll always work hard, but you'll always make people happy, and you'll be able to take care of your family. Fine. And that's, and then life kind of happened. There was never been a plan. We never had an idea. We're going to do this, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. But over the course of time, what I learned was small business is great business. And I quote my father a lot because when we would talk about maybe expanding, his line was, a business has to serve your needs. What are you looking for out of life? Do you want everyone to know you? Or do you want to just make the best product you can make? And that's it. And I like the idea of being small, where I get to do all my own cooking. I get to get involved in everything. We get to have some fun. And I get to meet people like you. I don't want to run around. No, I don't want to run around the country opening up new stores. I don't think I have the head for that. I like my gig. It's great. It has served me, my staff, my customers, and my family very well. No complaints.
But so I know you pretty well, but for those of us, there's another 20 of us here that don't know you as well. Though I think your daughter's here because she's like saying that mom's always right, by the way. So I think that's probably your daughter.
Yeah, it's my daughter.
But you're in Brooklyn. What part of Brooklyn are you in?
The current name is Marine Park.
What did it used to be?
When I was growing up, I was told we're in Sheepshead Bay.
Okay.
Then it kind of went back to Marine Park. Then I was told it's Madison. It's Marine Park. That's it. That's what it's truly South Brooklyn. We're not in hipster Brooklyn. We're in cool Brooklyn.
For now. Isn't hipster Brooklyn growing?
Brooklyn is huge. People don't realize how big Brooklyn is. It could take you up to an hour to drive from one side of Brooklyn to the other.
True.
So, hipster Brooklyn, they don't even have cars. They're not coming over here.
They have those electric bicycles.
Yeah, there you go. I can't wait to see all the text messages I'm going to get from my friends on the other side of Brooklyn. But it's okay.
Yeah. I was in Dumbo a couple weeks ago. Not a couple weeks ago, pre-COVID. It feels like a couple weeks ago.
Right.
It was a year and a half ago, but it feels like yesterday.
Right.
So I'm in Dumbo. I was visiting a chocolate company. We know who I was visiting.
We know who it is.
Right? So I'm looking around and I'm like, yeah. Like 20 years ago, all I needed to do was spend, $100,000 and I would never have to work another day in my life, because Dumbo is now like all these industrial things are now $2 million apartments and
30
hipster
ago,
chocolate shops.
30 years ago, you could have bought commercial property there for $1 a foot. On the other hand, the rats were as big as cats.
True. But you could count them as livestock, and that's a deduction.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so you're in Brooklyn. Same location you guys have been for a very long time.
We're at this location now since 1959.
And doing all sorts of chocolate, but everything from scratch, right? You're making every center, everything is.
Yep. still doing the same way we always did. I'm still using my grandfather's kettles and my father's stove. I have to replace the paddles every so often, but yeah, the same marble table. But as you know, we're starting to upgrade equipment a little bit because I decided retirement is not an option. I'm having too much fun. Hey, it's a great business. It really is. And if anything reminded me of that, it was COVID. Because when you had customers who were calling you up in the beginning looking for normalcy, and half the phone calls ended up with sobs when you told them, yes, of course, we'll have everything you need for Easter or for Passover or for whatever you're celebrating. We're doing what we're doing. And it was like, really? This is the only normalcy that we have. Cool, we're doing it. And it was a very emotional experience. I'm glad that we decided to stay open. We were deemed essential from the very beginning. And it was a decision to be made. All my staff had to make the decision. We didn't lay anybody off. Some people stopped working for a variety of reasons. But yeah, we all came together and we did what we had to do. We've been figuring it out now the whole time. Like I told someone recently, a year ago, August, I think was a fairly optimistic time, other than maybe some angst about the election, whichever way you felt about it. But we were optimistic and hopeful that a vaccine is coming and life is going to get better. But then now it's a year later and we're hearing about more and more breakthroughs and reticence about getting vaccinated. And I think it's going to be a difficult fall and winter season now. I'm sorry to say. And we'll adjust.
Yeah, I think I've given up prognosticating about the future, right? Like I think we here on we're trying to plan a schedule for teaching and things the next year, and I think we're planning with optimism, right? And at the same time we're scaling, being prepared for it to scale back. How's that?
Well, we did the same thing. We started doing chocolate workshops, private ones, over 20 years ago. And we just started doing them again. We had a fairly busy July, but now I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe we're going to place it on hold again, and let's wait and see what happens.
Right. So you mentioned you're using your dad's stove. Are you still using all of the old recipes too?
When he first got started, I tell people there was so little money that he had that they didn't have a refrigerator early on. So when they were doing molding, they could only do molding when it was cold enough outside to set up a folding table and lay the molds outside to cool, right? Which, makes Easter kind of iffy, but they did it nonetheless. I mean, we're talking about, I still have all my father's metal molds. I've shown people what I have in my basement. They freak out from it. But that being said, I'm using the recipes, though. There was a time early on where he could not afford the best ingredients. And as inflation gave us the gift of being able to raise prices decades ago, all of a sudden now we didn't have to cut out pecans when the price was too high. Or we didn't have to cut out pistachios or anything else. Now I can buy whatever I want. And yeah, we have been able to upgrade virtually every recipe over the years. And we usually do without even telling our customers. We just do it because we're able to do it, and they keep being happy, so we'll keep playing around and doing what we do. There's really only 2 recipes I never mucked around with, and one of them is my marshmallow, which goes back to my grandfather, which I now make about 4 times a week, and the other one is my jelly, which, it's an agar-agar jelly, and other than making it a little bit tartar than my grandfather or father did, same exact recipe. Everything else kind of has been updated a bit.
Do you like that updating process? I mean, do you like the recipe development process?
It's great. I've over the years, whenever I get approached for certain collaborations, a corporation or a marketing person throws a concept at you, and you got to figure stuff out for them. And when it works, and when they love it, and when they tell you how great the project went, yeah, that's amazing.
You love what you do, don't you?
Absolutely.
No, I mean, I don't mean that to sound disrespectful. Like, I think that you and I've been emailing this week that people haven't had visibility to, and you referenced a former guest of the show and how that person came to you kind of hat in hand and didn't know what they were doing and needed help, and you ordered their chocolate for them, right?
Yeah, why not?
Because
Yeah, because
right,
I could.
right, and ultimately that person could be a competitor, right? I mean, they were in Brooklyn, they
You know
were
what?
doing what you were doing at Easter, right?
You know what? It's all fine. New York is a big place. America is a big place. The world is a big place. There's enough for all of us. It's fine.
Right, but I just
Oh,
mean that,
oh,
like, you
yeah.
want you like I can hear it in your voice, and I've always heard it in your voice when we've spent time together about, you know, sharing what you do,
Yeah.
whether that's a recipe with somebody new to the business or a customer that has been eating that marshmallow, that family's been eating that marshmallow for the last 50 years, which is true, right?
Yep.
Like, those things give you the passion, like I believe you when you say you don't want to retire. Like, I
Oh,
don't believe most people. Most people, yeah, I don't want to retire. It's like, well, you can't afford to, or like you don't want to be home with your wife or whatever. But like, you don't want to retire because you love what you're doing.
absolutely.
You know.
Listen, when I started teaching workshops, I had people say to me, "Are you out of your mind? You're going to let people see what you do, where you do it, how you do it?" I said, "Let them open up across the street. If they want to work this hard, good for them. Let them do it." There is, like I said, there is enough for everyone to go around. And you know what? If I show someone how to do something and they start doing a better job than me, I can now learn from them, which is great. You know, in a generation back or 2 generations back, my father and his colleagues, everything were big secrets. It's like I can remember, like yesterday, it would be the Saturday night of Easter, right? We still had a little bit of action for Easter Sunday, but if the store was if we had a lot of selection, my father would say, "Oh wait, we can't let so-and-so see that we still have a lot of inventory. Let's move stuff into the back, and then tomorrow morning we'll bring it out." That era is gone, man. Now it's altogether different. When in the early 2000s, when a lot of young people started going into all aspects of the food business, including chocolate, I will admit, on the wholesale level, they were starting to kick my ass a bit because they were out and about. They were doing all the pop-ups in the parking lots and the wherevers, and the younger people and the new store owners didn't know I existed. So I had to kind of get myself out there and do the same thing. I didn't want to do the fancy food show, but I did the fancy food show. I started doing a lot of these shows, and now these young people, because I guess I'm old enough that I didn't appear to be a threat, they would kind of hang out with me and talk to me. Great. And then I would listen to their interactions with each other, and it would be like, "Hey, you making any money yet?" "No, not yet, but we think in a couple of quarters we'll be in the black again." And this was so refreshing. Not that they were losing money, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but the honesty was so refreshing of that generation, because what I got to see young people who were passionate, intelligent as all hell, creative as can be, and honest. And you kind of see that if you were getting a little bit tired already of what you're doing, this kind of lit a fire under everybody. And I saw everybody playing off each other. I mean, I started to do bean to bar for other people, not for myself. I was doing that, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
And yeah, I learned what I learned. And that's when I decided this is not what I'm going to do, because I can't, no, not because I didn't think I could become an expert at it. What's interesting now, all these years later, it seems like Main Street premium chocolate are now the bean to bar guys. But now I'm kind of the outsider, like the bean to bar guys were in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, the bean to bar things, like, obviously I spent a lot of time thinking about and talking about bean to bar, and I can go in 2 directions on the conversation. Depends on my mood. But I was on the phone, I was on a Zoom the other day with a bean to bar company, and they were asking a bunch of questions, and I said, "Yeah, chocolate making's hard." And I was a little snarky. I'll admit I was a little snarky about it, because they're in the business and they're asking questions that in my head they should have known the answer to, right? And she's like, "Yeah, it is really hard." And I think for me, you know, confection's hard. right? Like, I, I still don't make a good marshmallow. I'm coming down to learn how to make marshmallow from you one of
I'll
these,
teach
once
you.
I can.
All right.
But like, confection's hard over here, right? Like, making chocolate's really hard. Why do I want to do two really hard things? I want to do one really hard thing really well.
Well, also, it got to be the whole idea of, okay, so now at what part of bean to bar do I want to jump in? Do I want to start at the nib, or does that not make me authentic enough unless I go to the very beginning and start roasting my own damn beans?
Well, you're not in hipster Brooklyn, so
That's right.
if you're in
Because
hipster Brooklyn, I think you actually have to like cultivate the earth and like plant the cacao.
you have the rooftop garden, which you
Right.
live off of that, right? Listen, on the other hand, some of the smartest people that I have met in recent years, they started off in hipster Brooklyn, and they are doing great.
Yeah, right. And I don't look. We're both making fun of Brooklyn.
No.
Like, but
It's okay.
what's going on? I mean, yeah. I mean, Brooklyn is Brooklyn, and hipster Brooklyn's hipster Brooklyn. But it has become one of those centers of chocolate in a lot of ways, like Lyon is, and like Bruges is, because so much innovation has happened in Brooklyn and chocolate in the last 20 years. It's incredible.
I think really, when we hear about disruptors, we're thinking about technology. But I think the whole food industry has been disrupted, and Brooklyn has played a huge part in that. A huge part. I mean, everything from spirits to confections to, I don't even know, things I don't even know what the hell they are. But, oh, yeah, it's great. It's exciting as hell.
Yeah, and I think disruption breeds disruption, right? And so when that ball starts to roll, and I don't know that chocolate was where the ball rolled, right? Like, I mean, I had friends that lived in Brooklyn in the early 90s and spent a lot of time in not hipster Brooklyn at the time. You know what I mean? It's probably now hipster Brooklyn. But Brooklyn changed at some point for whatever reason, whether it was people needing an inexpensive place to live, or they were willing to try something there.
But that ship sailed. Now everything is
Totally. I mean, I get that, but that's what I'm saying. I think that people were drawn to Brooklyn because my friends that couldn't afford to live in Manhattan lived in Brooklyn.
Right. Now it's just as bad.
Right, and I think there was an energy, and there were people that wanted to do something different, and were willing to take a chance because they were willing to take a chance, right?
Well, but whenever you have any kind of a local, national, or worldwide financial strain, whether it's a financial crisis or a dot-com bubble, people become disillusioned with their jobs, and now they have to say, well, you know what? Maybe I'm going to follow my passion. Well, maybe I'm going to try this hobby to see if I can make some money doing it.
Right.
And not a lot. Over the years, I've had a lot of people come to me with an idea, and I work with them, and I try to do stuff with them. But at a certain point, now they have to run a business. I can help them make something, or even help them buy a piece of equipment, but I can't tell them how to run the money part.
Right. And that's that evolution from, like, I can give you a hobby, right? Like, and I think that's the hard part about kind of what you're talking about and what we do, and I consulted for a while too, and like, I have a hobby, right? My hobby costs me X number of dollars per year.
Okay.
I'm not going to make money coming out of that hobby. I'm just not. Like, there's no vision in my head. And I think that evolution from hobby to entrepreneur is what you're talking about, right? It's hard. Like, it's hard to make money. It
Making
is.
money. Look, and our business, no offense to any of the products you sell, any of the equipment, but they don't make equipment like they used to make equipment. So when I came into the business, we had stuff then that was 30 and 40 years old.
Right.
I still have Hobart mixers here from when my father went into business.
Right.
And they're still fine. On the other hand, chocolate equipment that I bought already 25 years ago, it's already old.
Right.
And I'm sure that the couple of sell me pieces I got from you, I don't think they have a 25-year life to them.
I think they're going to do okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think I know we have equipment in the. I'm not debating this with you, but I mean, I know we have equipment in the marketplace that's 15 years old. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So, but you're right. Like my washer, what we make today tends to last less time. I just moved into a new house, right? The dishwasher,
Congratulations.
no, well, you won't get there, but the dishwasher that's in the house and the furnace that are in the house are almost original. You know what I mean? They're like 25 or 30 years old. And everybody's like, well, they're at end of life. It's like, I understand they're at end of life, but the washing machine that I just moved over was my second washing machine, and I bought the first one 10 years ago.
The reason
Right.
I'm in a shipping room right now is where my production areas where I was going to be doing this, we've been without air conditioning now for 4 weeks. I have an under warranty unit that the company is not able to service. So if anyone out there knows anyone at Friedrich or wants to buy an air conditioner, don't buy a damn Friedrich air conditioner.
I am going to give you an opportunity later to like, you know, sell whatever you want, but you kind of took it up at the anti-sale, the anti-plug. There was your anti-plug
Right.
for the day.
That's right. Hey, I can be passive aggressive also.
What's the favorite thing you get to make every day, or not every day, but what's your favorite thing that you get to make?
I like making everything. I really do. There is nothing I make that I don't like to make, but I have a special affinity for peanut brittle. Only because it's the first thing I ever cooked on my own. I was always my father's helper.
Right.
And the day I got to make it myself, I kind of froze up and I went blank. And here I am cooking, and I don't see him around. And I would say, so you're going to tell me when it's ready? He says, you'll know. I said, how will I know? And I knew the steps, but not when you do what you do. And then as I'm getting closer, and I think I'm getting closer, I said, how will I know? He says, pay attention, you'll know. And all of a sudden, I smelled peanuts. And once I got that smell, and then I looked at the color, then I kind of knew. And we never really cooked by thermometer, although lately I'm seeing the value of standardization by using a thermometer. And I just started to pay attention to details. And that smell reminded me, yep, we're good to go. And I was right. So every time I fire up the stove to make a brittle, I do more than peanut now. I kind of have a special feeling about that. But I still have to lean towards the marshmallow and the caramel as, yeah, this is what I do. I mean, I'm doing this 46 years full time, and when I see chefs, they have these cookbooks with like 800 recipes. I've been making like 6 or 8 things now for almost 50 years, and I've been running a business that way. It's okay. My cookbook would be a pamphlet.
Be cheaper to print.
There you go.
No,
Email it.
but you know what? I think I love that. I've taken to panning a lot recently, and I like panning because honestly, we use different chocolate every time because it's kind of the scraps, right? So
Okay.
the chocolate is never the same viscosity, right? We're not panning the
Okay.
same thing every day, right? So one day it's Cocoa Puffs, the next day it's almonds, and the next day is hazelnuts, and then it's peanut butter cereal or Rice Krispies or whatever. And I can't turn the machine on and walk away. I mean, we kind of can, but
Right.
like it's this sensory thing. It's about listening, and it's about watching, and it's about paying attention. And if I pay attention, I get really great product. And if I don't pay attention, I get one giant chocolate covered. I get bark in the back of the pan, right?
What my father always used to make. He had this one recipe for making butter crunch, and one of my customers, who I think is on this right now, he had asked me to change my recipe because the guy he was buying from was not going to be making it anymore. And I read this recipe, and I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual person. I need to see something to understand it.
Right.
And I'm reading this recipe for butter crunch, or you may want to call it toffee, and they're talking about that when the batch is nearly done, the viscosity will change, and then you'll see like fingers dripping down the sides of the kettle as you're mixing it. And I'm focusing on these, looking for damn fingers, you know? And it took me a while to understand what it looked like. And it kind of looked like if you were to pour chocolate over a cake and watching it drip down the sides, that overflow, those are kind of those fingers. So to this day, if I'm not paying attention when I'm making butter crunch, and if I miss the fingers, I'm going to screw it up. But it's that detail. It's paying attention to texture and paying attention to color and to smell. It's all this sensory stuff happening all at once, which is incredible.
Yeah, we were talking a couple weeks ago on this about when things change, right? And I have a pastry background, right? And
Yeah,
one of
I
my
remember.
favorite things in the world is still pastry cream, right?
Okay.
Because there's a moment when it goes from being liquid to being pastry cream, and then it goes from being pastry cream to scrambled eggs in like a New York minute, right? And like you got to catch it right then and get it off the stove, or you're going to you're going to cook the eggs, right? And like that moment, like I don't do a lot of pastry anymore, but that moment when I'm making pastry cream, like I get like a little kid in a candy store, you know, because like you're talking about, like you got to catch it at the fingers, or you got to hear the sound of the panner, or you got to have that aroma of the caramel, and you know that's if I don't put the cream in right now, it's over.
Well, it's like when I make marshmallow, you know, I know that big companies, there's a certain way that they know when the batch is done. They weigh the container, blah, 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 blah. With us, it always has been that when you think the marshmallow is ready, you got to take a sample out and you kind of have to play with it for about 10 seconds to see if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And if you're impatient, it's not going to be as fluffy. And if you walk away or don't pay attention, you're going to screw it up. You're going to lose it. And again, it's that moment. And then you have to take into account the humidity in the air and all this other stuff, which I don't have a science background. I just kind of feel things. But watching it happening in front of you, you got to pay attention. It's all the details. And this is really one. But this is also the reason why, on the one hand, I admire them, but also I never wanted to have to scale up to make humongous size batches, because I can't imagine that something will not be lost. Can't imagine that.
Yeah,
But again,
I mean it's hard, like
people
because
do
like
it,
I'm with you. You know, you share knowledge and you teach and you do your seminars and all that, and like somewhere in there, you know, when people come to me and when they come to you, because I know that people come to you for help, like
Yep.
the answer is they want to know 97.3 degrees, right? They want to know 14 and a half minutes. They want to know set
Right.
it to medium. And like
Yep.
I struggle with that, right? I struggle with like, well, you do it until it's right. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
I
I
don't
just
know what the
lie.
temperature
No,
is.
no, I just lie. I give them a number, let them figure it out.
Yeah,
Because my consulting is free. I don't charge for it.
right.
So if I charged, then I'm kind of obligated to do everything perfect. But I
Yeah.
just try to give them enough for them to now get motivated to learn on their own.
Yeah, I took a class years and years ago I was in a seminar room at a trade show, whatever. And I'm in this class, and the teacher is this old Swiss German guy, precision guy, and he's doing ganache. And one of the kids in the front row is like, "What temperature is that?" And he goes, "I don't know." And he's like, no. What temperature do we need to get that to? And he's like, it needs to be this temperature. I don't know. And the kid asks him again. And finally, he grabs the thermometer in his hand and he's like, it's got to be like 97.3 degrees. And he puts the thermometer in and it's like 97.2. And like, you know, it's that we do it, you know, what you're talking about, you do it. So you know it. And you know that it's humid in here today. I better cook it higher or
Well,
longer or
I
whatever.
I play games with myself. I'll be making caramel, and I know by looking at it when it's going to be ready, because my father gave me these descriptions years ago. Like what
Right.
he used to say is, yeah, you cook it until it looks like elephant skin, whatever the hell that means. And I know what temperature I want to cook it to, but periodically I'll look at the batch and I'll say, all right, it's probably now about such and such. And then I throw my long probe in there. I said, oh, look at that, it is. which is just kind of, you know, at least it reminds me I still know what the hell I'm doing, which is okay.
All right. So you've told everybody you're not retiring ever.
Right. Yep.
Going to die in the
No.
building.
As long as I can be relevant and do what I do well. That's it.
So, and I know there are a couple other Rojaks on here, by the way, because they keep like making their snarky comments.
It's a hard G, Rogak.
Rogak, sorry.
It's all right.
I've only known you like 15 years. Like, you'd think I'd get that right now.
15, you think?
Yeah, it's 15.
Yeah, you're with Tom Rick longer than that. Really? Only 15? Damn.
And I only know it because I know how long I've been married and I know how old my daughter is. And I know it's in relation. But yeah, 15 years. Do they get the business? Or what happens after you're gone?
Let them answer. It's up to them. My daughters get to decide what happens next.
Do they work in the business now?
No, they only work around the holidays. They do handle my social media and those kind of things. They're learning more and more. They're able to do lots of it. There are certain things that they're right. They're telling you what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain things I wouldn't know how to teach someone how to do. Until I started teaching workshops, I really didn't realize how much I knew, except when people started to ask me questions. When I started to do things with some new people going into business, I took for granted certain knowledge. And because I grew up in this, I didn't know I was learning. But you just kind of accumulate knowledge and data, and it just stays in that thick head of mine. So I don't know how you teach someone the feel of how to talk to someone at an event, or how to sell something, or how to sell yourself. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm not the least expensive guy making chocolates for wholesale. But like I tell my customers, I may not be, but when you buy my product, you get me. That's a bargain. You're getting me for nothing. At least that's my sales pitch. So I don't really know. Look, I am very fortunate that I was able to take my father's business and make it my own business. I really, really was. And I didn't assume it was going to happen. I really didn't know how I could take over the admin as well as the candy making roles. But you know what? You figure it out. At least I figured it out. I have full of faith in if my daughters decide and their husbands, all right, we're going to make this work, they'll make it work.
All right.
It's as simple as that. I know my customers will be very supportive of whatever happens next. That's for sure. And if I didn't learn anything, if I didn't believe that a year and a half ago, which I did, I certainly believe it now from what my customers did for me this last year and a half, or 17 months, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
It feels like 5 years, but that's another story.
And 2 weeks all at the same time.
Right. Absolutely, yeah, right. Look, I remember when you started doing these things, because in those early days of our COVID life, I was kind of just looking for, I was reaching out to everyone who I could think of to kind of crowdsource, what are we doing? How are we going to do this?
Sorry it took me 18 months to ask you to join me.
I was kind of resentful, but all right, you got to me.
Were you? I mean, I don't mean to be.
No, don't be silly. No.
There are people that are, however, and have sent me like nasty grams.
No, I said to myself, he's going to run out of candy makers pretty soon. He'll get back to me.
No, I'm not gonna. I don't know. Like, it's funny, like this program, like in my head, we were going to do it for a couple weeks, and then it was going to I was going to be done, and we were going to be back to work, and I wasn't going to have time. And then like 6 months in, somebody around here is like, "Are you going to keep doing that?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's kind of fun, and I like talking to people, and I've learned a ton."
Right.
And then I went to those same people a month ago, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, it doesn't have value." And he looked at me and was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I think it's kind of worked itself out." He goes, "You're going to keep doing that." I was like, "Okay, cool." Because it is. I think I really do love the opportunity to spend time with people that feel the same way I do about food and about passion and about all this stuff, and people that like open their story and they tell me everything about why they do what they do, you know? And that's really cool for me, at least.
Oh,
I don't know if anybody else gets anything out of it, but I do.
I don't know. I don't have the time to watch a lot of stuff, but I have looked at enough of them over the past year plus. And there's interesting people out there who have an interesting take on what we do. And I think that's great.
Yeah. So, hey,
Because,
there's this whole conversation going on, by the way, which I'm kind of paying half. I have one eye open to the scroll, and I've got the other eye open to me, and then the other eye open to you. Like
right.
talking about like what a great dad you are, and how lucky your daughters are to have a great dad like you. And they're saying you're absolutely right. He is the greatest dad ever. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just letting you know. And they said they're there for you, no matter what you want to do.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, girls. But yeah, I see the same scroll. It's all good.
You know, but I think you're right. We are in a really interesting business, right? We are in a business where both from what our customers want from us and
Right.
what our competitors are willing to share with us, and we're really I'm a lucky guy. I get to spend time with a lot of really cool cats every day, you know, which is awesome.
You know, and look, and the idea of getting to do something that you do well and doing well at something that you enjoy, I don't know how else to describe how that feels. I mean, I know a lot of people who are in the candy business, and I tend to associate with the smaller businesses because we can relate to each other much better.
Right.
Now, the guys who run the multinationals, or they have 82 stores in 3 countries, they have a whole different place than I do. I don't have a brain like that.
Right.
I mean, I have watched people go from nothing to enormous businesses, and it's like, God bless. I don't know how you do it. You either have a very big brain, or you know how to create these levels of management that is way above my pay grade. But for me, I have my gig. I like what I do. I do it well. My customers are happy. My family's happy. What's there to complain about? Nothing.
All right.
Look, when I used to go to the Philadelphia Candy Show, I think the show itself was a horrible show. It was the least progressive show around. However, I wouldn't go there for any reason but to see the people I do business with.
Right.
And you'd see people, you might see a demo of something, maybe not, but you'd walk around and you'd look at the faces that you remember, and no one seemed to age. Everyone always seemed happy, and it was great. You know, but then I got busier and I don't have the time to do that stuff anymore.
It's not on my list anymore either. I don't get to go either.
No, you know what? No offense to them. They do the best they can, I guess. But to me, that's the same show that it was in the 70s. It really hasn't changed much.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So I know you love everything you do. Oh, go ahead. I cut you off.
No, that's another. We don't have to talk about that. I'm done.
No. So I know you love everything you do.
Yep.
And life is great. But
Yep.
what's the item when it appears on the list and you're like, I don't want to make that today?
Well, okay. All right. You know, so every time there is something in life that happens, there is good and there is bad. COVID happens. We don't know what's going on. And, you know, fourth quarter is always that quarter that we have to plan on. And years ago, the lesson that I learned was, and this actually was right after 9/11 happened, we didn't know how to plan for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And one of the women who worked for me, she said to me, Michael, the calendar doesn't stop for any reason. I thought about that, and we kind of got ourselves together, and we did what we had to do. When COVID was happening, I told myself the same thing. I don't know what Thanksgiving and Christmas look like, but the calendar is not going to stop. Maybe we're going to do a lot of corporate business. Maybe we're not. I don't know what we're going to do. And then about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, one of my daughters, Marissa, who's on there someplace, she said, Dad, I saw on TikTok these hot cocoa bombs. You got to do it. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. And then Lauren, my other daughter, she said, Dad, I saw on Instagram hot cocoa bombs. You really got to do it. All right. I ignore her too. And then the phone starts ringing here every day. Hot cocoa bombs, hot cocoa bombs. When we got 10 phone calls in one day, I said, all right, fine, let me try to figure this out. So I looked at molds that I had. I looked at what people were doing. I said, oh, we can do that. But then I decided, well, I don't want to do what everyone else does. Since I make my own marshmallow, I'm not buying bags of crappy marshmallow and putting them with my chocolate, and I'll make a hot cocoa mix. I'm going to make my own marshmallow, and as I make the spheres, the halves, I'm going to pipe a little marshmallow rosette into each one. So I tell my daughters, all right, put it up online. Let's see what happens. And everyone here is getting all excited. I said, come on, what do you think you're going to sell? 2 dozen of them? Go ahead, put it up. So the first day when it went live, I think we had orders for about 150 hot cocoa bombs. And then I realized I was charging too cheap because I started getting people telling me, why are you charging so cheap? But it's charging so much more. I said, screw it. How many are we possibly going to sell? Needless to say, we made it through Thanksgiving. Christmas, everything explodes. We got very busy. But every day before I got to do my regular work, I had to knock off a couple of 100 hot cocoa bombs. And you stand there piping hour after hour. I was dreading it for a while. And I knew, all right, I created a monster. I can't make it. I guess I have this mindset. I need to make labor-intensive items. That way, it's harder for people to compete with me. And, there were so many steps in the way we were doing the bombs. From first we're making them, then we're filling them, then we're seaming them, then we're decorating them, then we're packaging them, then we're attaching an instruction card to it. Freaking things were killing me. But I recognize it changed the mood. You forgot about COVID for a while.
Right.
So maybe we made money, maybe we didn't make money, but damn, did it make people happy. It's like, I don't know about you, but I'm doing this a long time. And in your personal life, I am sure that when you were a teenager, you were not looking forward to New Year's Eve sitting with your parents having hot cocoa. Just saying. But when I had person after person coming in, we have to have them because on Christmas Day, the family is all going to have hot cocoa together. Or we're going to be sending them to the family all around, and we're all going to crack these things at the same time. So as it was physically hard, but what a trip to have made so many people happy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not the answer to your question.
It is. No, it's a total answer to my
But
question.
it is. You know,
That is.
there's really, if I hate to do something, I don't care how much money you throw at me, I'm not doing it. But there was another side to this, because through all that hard work, it really represented the core of what we do, which is helping people celebrate life. That's my whole job, period.
Are they back? Are they back in the fall this year? Are you bringing hot cocoa bombs back?
I'm sure they're going to be back. I probably will introduce something for around Halloween. We'll start it up. I'm sure we'll be doing a half a dozen flavors.
Pumpkin spice cocoa bomb.
No, I think I may do a couple of boozy bombs with a boozy ganache inside. I don't know. I'll think about it. I got time.
So
I'm a last minute person. I need everything to be stupid fresh. So I can't do stuff like months in advance or even weeks in advance. I don't usually start a holiday till the previous holiday is done.
Yeah. I got so many calls about cocoa bombs one day, and Beth, the other chocolatier here, will tell you, like, I had a little moment. Like, I got off the phone explaining how to make them like one more time. And I'm like, F this. And like, I put the iPad up and I hit Instagram live, and like, I made them like live, like, this is how you do it.
Right.
And I'm like molding, and I'm like angrily like chucking marshmallows and cocoa powder and I'm sticking them together, and I pop them out. I'm like, that is a cocoa bomb. And then like I hit end,
Right. No.
And then when people would call and go, can you tell me how to make cocoa bombs? I'm like, yeah, there's a video on Instagram.
There you go.
because that was my reaction to it.
But at the end of the day, that crazy item brought people together.
Oh, and yeah, it did. I mean, I'm not that angry about it, but I mean, it was just like, it was this weird phenomenon that
Yep.
I think you said it really well. Maybe I didn't understand how people were using them, that they were, one was going to grandma and one was going to your sister and one was staying here, and the three of us were having a cup of hot chocolate together on a cold winter night. And it was the only way we could share that because we're not together for 6 months.
But also even families that were together, because all of a sudden now you had, let's say, young adults who were still living home. They had no place else to be.
Right.
And that became part of what they were doing. The hot cocoa bomb was kind of this symbolic thing that the family was getting together with.
Right.
Which, no offense against anyone's parents, but not too many teenagers want to hang with their parents on New Year's Eve.
Right.
Just saying. But it became a thing this year, and it was kind of fascinating to be part of that, I have to say.
All right. We're getting short on time, so I asked this question to everybody.
All right.
Mass market chocolate bar you pick up at the bodega on your way home.
Gee, see, I never do. But
If you had to.
if I had to, I'd probably end up going with a Three Musketeers or a Milky Way.
Three Musketeers has not been offered in a year and a half of asking that question. You're the first person to say Three Musketeers. Way to go, Michael. I like that answer.
There is something about, I start to think about why certain flavors are so popular and why there is something just about pure comfort. And this is why when one of your other guys was talking about, he did this lavender caramel, I think he said, but people want peanut butter. You know what? I think as people get older, they look back at their childhood as what flavors kind of instilled passion in them then. Dude, unless you have an allergy, peanut butter, right? So there is something about the things that we ate as kids which stay with us, because I've come to, I think I understand that taste and memory go hand in hand. And when someone says to me, I've traveled all around the world and yours is the best so-and-so of everybody. And I pushed back against it. I said, no, it's really that you made me your guidepost, but you have all these memories attached to this. So if all of a sudden you were to say now that something is better than mine, that kind of taints all of your memories. And it's, that's why, this relationship that we get to have with our customers is just so important, because the whole life is built on memories. And that's what we are doing with food, all of us.
Got it.
I mean, because at the end of the day, all of us, all that our whole job is feeding people and making sure they don't die from it.
That's very sexy.
That's it, yeah, right.
Here's your plug. Plug whatever you want. The girls are on, so they're going to want you to plug something. The website, Instagram. You don't have to sell something. You can just hey, go to our website. Here's our web address, and you got a minute and a half. And then I got to say goodbye because Instagram's going to cut us off.
What he just said, go to our website, JoMartChocolates.com. There is an S in chocolate, it's plural. Go to our Instagram site, JoMart Chocolates. Write to us at hello@JoMartChocolates.com. Come to my store. Come hungry. Come visit. I don't care if you don't buy anything. Just come in and say, hey, did I get everything?
Yeah, make sure to order your Cocoa Bobs early.
Oh, yeah. Place your orders early. And if you have a store or if you're a candy maker and want to add something to your line, we're happy to talk to you.
That was perfect. The girls are happy. Right. They're typing in the web address. They're typing in the email address. They've got it covered for you. Look at that. All three disappeared.
Those are my girls, just like that.
I hope, Michael, I'm hoping that if nothing else, there is no more resentment about it taking a year and a half to invite you up.
All that I ask is next time you're in New York, get your ass over to my place. I
will. I'm trying to. I know I've got a trip to Brooklyn scheduled this fall.
All right.
So I will make sure that. It's all the way out by the ocean, which is the other side of the world.
That's where I am.
That's what I mean.
I am very proud that I didn't drop an F-bomb on this whole thing. I was watching my language. You did open with asshole, however, in the first 15 seconds.
But
I
that
could
word is
have
on network television now.
I could have said ass hat if I was being polite, but you know, fuck it. I'm not. Oh, there I go. I did it. There.
The marketing team will probably miss that because it's towards the end, so they'll probably just put it up on YouTube anyway.
What do I care?
I don't
It's all
care.
good.
Michael,
This was
thank you.
good.
I
My
had
pleasure.
fun. I'm not going to call you afterwards because you've got work to do.
I'm going to visit my mother in a little while.
I'm sorry you
My
had to
mom,
delay lunch.
no, yeah, it's all right. My mom is 95, so part of my daily routine, I go to see her every day, and we hang out and we talk. So when does this appear on your Instagram site?
It'll be as soon as we're done. I'll make sure that it's up on Instagram.
All right, because this way I'll go over to her, I'll set her up with her iPad, and she can watch it.
And then apparently you're hanging out with your daughter tomorrow.
Yes, I am seeing one of my daughters tomorrow, and I'll see the other. Well, that's the daughter who is having a baby next week, by the way.
Wow! Congratulations. The family's
Yeah,
growing.
absolutely. It's all good.
All right.
Good stuff, man.
Say hi to mom for me, Michael. Thank you very much. We'll
Got
talk
it,
to you
man.
soon.
Peace
Okay.
out.
Bye.
Good.